Welcome to Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On with Dani Furmenek. I'm Dani Furmenek, a breakup coach passionate about supporting others to learn from their breakups, overcome loneliness, love being single, and see the end of a relationship as the beginning of a magical, sexy new chapter in life. I am here each week to share with you the tools that I have learned through my own painful breakups, through hitting rock bottom more than once, and through working with people all around the world to heal their broken hearts. If you are looking for hope and strength to move on from your breakup and resources to enjoy your new life, you are in the right place, and I've got your back. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast network. And I'm saying that because this is what I like to call a double drop. Today, we are talking about attachment styles. I like to say attachment tendencies because I think these are things that we learn over time, that we develop patterns and habits around, and that we can overcome. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm starting to do coaching on becoming securely attached. And I'm dropping this on both podcasts, a double drop, hi to both audiences, Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On, and Sex and the Solo Girl. Today, we're talking with Dani Furmenek. Hello, welcome to the show shows for the first time.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. We got introduced by a mutual friend and chatted a few weeks ago and came up with this great idea, overcoming anxious attachment. I talk a lot about just generally becoming secure, and which maybe because I haven't struggled with anxiety for a long time, and so it's not as much on my radar. I'm not really sure, but this is really important. I think that a lot of people can relate to feeling anxious in dating and feel kind of discouraged over that aspect of it. So let's talk about what it looks like, how it shows up in dating, and how we can overcome it over time. So again, welcome to the show, Dani. Dani is from Boston, which I think is really cool, one of my favorite cities. And she owns a marketing company helping small businesses with a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, content creation, advertising, branding. And I think that we both relate to this. She loves to learn new things. I'm also a big reader, being out in the sun and going to the gym. And we are going to definitely plug her Instagram, which is just awesome, very inspiring. My partner and I were actually looking at it yesterday, and I was just like, wow, she's really something else.
Thank you so much for that intro. Very warm welcome. So yeah, my name is Dani, and that Instagram that you mentioned, it's Dani Furmenek, so just my name. And I'm sure it'll be spelled in the show notes. It's kind of a difficult last name to spell.
Oh, cool. We got a Formicella and a Furmenek. So
okay.
Two sexy last names.
So yeah, thank you again. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to do this topic. Like when we were talking a few weeks ago, we were just riffing off a few different topics. We ended up talking for like over an hour, and it was supposed to be like a 15-minute convo. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and thank you. I think sometimes when we talk about our attachment tendencies, we can feel really vulnerable, like admitting some of these things maybe. And so, yeah, thank you for more or less suggesting it. I'm really interested and excited, first of all, to discuss your experiences. Dani transitioned about 5 years ago, and so has a really interesting perspective on maybe attachment tendencies or just the experience of dating as a man for most of your life, and then as a woman. And I haven't at all explored this on the show. And when I looked at our notes, really like, oh, this is such a good idea that I might not have thought of. So you spend some time on that. What did you want to share about perhaps the differences?
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background. I started coming out during the pandemic to my friends and family. You know, the people that I wanted to keep closest to me and like keep throughout my transition. So I slowly came out to them, and then eventually started medically transitioning in March 2021. So that's, doing hormone replacement therapy, going on with surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. So, I've learned so much about myself through that process, and I've had so much self growth that I've really, I guess, honed in on why I have a certain attachment style,
Cool.
and, just I'm able to see how others are interacting within dating and relationships. When when I was dating as a man, I would say that, I probably wasn't as confident. I think I was still like pretty anxious, but on top of that, like there was this constant distress. So, like, for people who are not familiar with gender dysphoria, the way I could best describe it is if you're right-handed, try doing everything in life with your left hand.
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
the type of distress that I was feeling constantly. And then when I saw my shot, I finally took it to transition. Um, but, dating as a woman, I would say I'm much more confident. I owe that to just being comfortable in my skin.
got it.
Um, Also, I've had a lot of growth, and with that comes wisdom. So I've, the past 4 years, 5 years, I've gotten more wisdom in that short time frame than I did in all the years like prior to transitioning.
Hmm. Do you, thank you so much for sharing this. Did you find that you had attachment differences based on your different perspectives dating as a man and a woman?
So I feel like I've always been anxious and ambivalent.
Okay.
And we'll talk more about what that specifically means. But I think that's because those types of things are rooted from childhood, and that's tough to change. I think it's kind of ingrained in us,
Yeah.
to a certain extent. So yeah, I would consider myself that category of attachment style. I mean, throughout my entire life, but obviously, you know, things do change on the edges, right? And there's other things that can contribute to an attachment style and, how you respond to certain situations.
And including intention and wanting to maybe show up differently. And I really think when it comes to all different types of attachment styles, tendencies, that confidence is such a big part of all of it. My short or my background with attachment, I have to say, I have thought long and hard about this. I study, like I'm, in doing this workbook, and it's so hard for me to figure out what in my childhood has contributed to it. That's something that I'm constantly thinking about. I kind of had helicopter parents, but I don't know. I will say when I first started dating, I'm an ex-Mormon as well, as a lot of you will know. When I first started dating outside of the church, I got into a relationship fairly quickly, and we were together for 7 years. And I guess I was very anxious. I knew nothing about healthy relationships. I mean, except you wait till marriage to have sex and you have one partner, and there was a lot of weird messaging growing up, as far as also like what was appropriate. And so I was really jealous when I was dating this guy, and we actually ended up getting married. And looking back, I don't even recognize myself because I'm not a jealous person. I'm actually polyamorous, and my partner has two other partners, and I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. So I was very jealous and anxious then, wanting to know where he was all the time, type of thing. However, he's late to everything. And so I feel like I have a little bit of a right to be upset about that. And then after we divorced, I got into a very abusive relationship. A lot of people also know I'm a DV survivor. And so after that, I went kind of the opposite direction. And anytime that there was intimacy, I would just be like, you're being too much. And this is one of the misnomers about avoidant that I'll touch on really quickly. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be in relationships. I dated a ton. I enjoyed it so much. But like I said, when it came to things getting serious and intimate and men wanting to have, like deep and meaningfuls, I was like, I am out of here. And then I actually took a break from dating, which you did as well. And I'm excited to talk about that. And during that time, I just committed to generally becoming a better person and also being okay on my own. My confidence grew. And that's how I became what you call earned secure, which we will touch on. And I think that I'm awesome at relationships. I have to say, that's one reason I do the podcasts. So, Dani, I would like to hand it over to you. There's more to anxious attachment than the classics slash cliched anxiety about when they're going to text. Like that's definitely a part of it. People use that example all the time. But there's a couple different types: anxious ambivalent, and then we're going to talk about anxious avoidant. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mentioned that I was anxious ambivalent. So I think some classic characteristics of that, and not limited to, but high anxiety, abandonment issues, maybe feeling unworthy of love. All those are just things that you need to do a ton of self-work on. And that's something that really started for me when I started transitioning. So, and I see this as such a common theme in the trans community, and I'm sure broader too, it is also a common theme, but you cannot beat yourself up on who you are. You didn't create yourself.
Yes.
You didn't create your culture. You did not create your consciousness. Like you just are. So
when
don't.
You say, not you didn't create your consciousness, what do you mean by that in relation to how you show up in relationships?
Well, I mean, you can't think your next thought, so to speak.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, I mean, when it comes to mindfulness, it's about just the practice of being present and not trying to overthink. And I mean, that's what it is to me personally. And a huge lesson that I've learned over the past few years is that you can always start again. And you don't have to be beholden to those things like culture or consciousness.
I think there is a lot of discussion around attachment and how it relates to your parents. And that is all true. And it's such valuable information to have. When we know the root of how we develop some of this, I think it's easier for us to explore undoing it, unraveling it. You wanted to talk a little bit about rushing things. And I think that this is really common with people who feel relationship anxiety. It's something that I encourage people to try not to do. It's so hard in the beginning of a relationship when you want to be around each other all the time. There's a lot of pitfalls, especially if you have relationship anxiety. So can you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, like in the relationship and even sometimes in the talking stage, like that's such a dopamine hit. That's like, it's tough to like not want to text them and like just, like be consumed in like that new feeling. And I think a way to combat that is trying to remain present. But a good reframe, I think, is my attention on loving or is my attention on who is loving me?
Yes, please go into that. I'm like getting so excited. I'm like blushing right now. So yes, go on. I like the way you put things. This is the way that you describe things is a little different. So I'm enjoying
Thank you. So when we rush into things and, I feel, well, I am guilty of this in the past. Before I transitioned, I would say like throughout college and then, early part of my professional career, those that type of energy finds you. Like I was not certain about myself. I did not have self-love
Mhm.
and just toxic relationships just tend to find you. There was one in there that I mean, I dated someone for like 3.5 years, and it wasn't like a toxic relationship. It just kind of fizzled out. But I mean, there were some like very high strung toxic relationships. And then this, like, it was a blessing and a curse kind of thing. The last relationship I was in, I was like, fuck, I gotta transition. Like, I can't
Oh,
do this shit
interesting.
anymore. It was just like such a mental toll. It was arduous. So, you know,
I'm just curious,
to
did you date
specific,
women?
I was dating as a man. Romantically, I dated women. But I would also like hook up with guys, but I would never like romantically date guys. I've tried dating women now, but it's just like it's not for me.
Hmm.
So
Got
like
it.
I strictly date men now. But specifically with that last relationship before I transitioned, when we rush into things, we give too much and we ask for too much. And then it's just kind of like a terrible cycle where we're like, the more we give, the more we want, and it just snowballs out of control.
There's a
So,
level of codependence in that as well, because when you give expecting
mhm,
something in return, it's actually like a form of manipulation. Like that's almost why you're doing it for some people, and you can get resentful if you don't get it back.
definitely. So, I picked up this from Matthew Hussey.
Okay.
I heard him say this last year. So he said to reframe it like this: What would I not give someone if I knew this wasn't going anywhere? And what
Oh.
would I be happy giving if it never went anywhere? So, how are you going to show up with uncertainty in the future?
Mhm. And also not writing a story because we really don't know how things are ever going to end up. But I think, particularly with people who experience anxiety, I mean, some people, as soon as they meet someone, will start telling their friends this is the one and really getting attached to an outcome when you don't even know the person. But in reality, you don't have any idea what's happening. And so this outlook from Matthew, I think it's great. And I'm don't you think maybe you should go into every new relationship like that?
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
think like just any new person that you meet too. I think that's just
Yeah.
a good rule of thumb. But oh my God, yeah, like being an anxious person, like the movies that I play in my head, it's fucking crazy. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
come back to reality, like try and just stay in the present. That's one of the things that like I've become very aware of like over the past few years, like, okay, like let's come back to reality now. I've One of the things that I also heard recently was people worry about getting someone, so like actually dating that person, but never stop to ask, should they really want that person?
The pick me culture that I kind of,
Yeah.
especially with women, I mean, let's be, I mean, yeah, it is. There's still a pick me culture with females rather than is this right or should I pick them or does this feel like something that is worth pursuing? It's a lot about hopefully they like me.
Well, I'm sure we'll touch on this in the future, but just like, for example, with ghosting and being a pick me, like if that happens to you, they will probably come back around. The amount of times I've had like guys come back around and like,
Oh,
hey, what's
girl.
up? And like act like nothing has happened. Like, never fucking forget that feeling that you had when they ghosted
Yeah.
you. And just remember that and you're golden. But, if that doesn't do the trick, try and think about like, okay, what do I want for my love story? Like, do I want someone who has ghosted me, or like do I want someone who has swept me off my feet? Like, what's the communication style?
That's what I was
Like,
just gonna say is do you want to be with someone who doesn't even have like the most basic communication skills?
fuck no. And you don't want someone who's like, I don't know, just being rude to you and like doesn't have the courtesy to like text back. I don't know. Just like those are things that you really need to think about, like if you end up in that situation.
Let's go more into ghosting because we both wanted to discuss this because it affects people who are anxious horribly. I mean, that's maybe the quintessential thing, like I was saying earlier, that people associate with anxious is when you get so upset whether or not they're going to text you. Or what makes me really bummed out is going on or framing it as though, why did they do this? And just really focusing on that rather than a lot of different approaches to responding to it. So I know that this is something that you have experienced, and let's talk about it. I've been in the same relationship for over a year, and it hasn't happened to me in quite a while, just because of my relationship history. So yeah, please, I think it's so important for people to know it happens to everyone. This is a high value woman who it happened to recently. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, oh my God, I have so much to say on this fucking
Let's hear
topic. So, there's a few things that like we need to preface before we really get into it.
it.
And again, like I'm going to be beating this drum nonstop. It's all about your mindset. And like for a sports reference, like how many shots on goal can you get? Right. So if you get ghosted, reset your nervous system, go touch some grass and keep showing up like you know that your person is out there and that you will meet them eventually.
Like,
Mindset is everything, and having that mindset specifically is so powerful, I think. I don't know if like this is me playing movies in my head, but like sometimes when a ghost is about to happen, like I can kind of like feel it. I would call it women's intuition or whatever you want,
yeah.
but I think that it's due to it's like I like to call this kill criteria. So
Yeah.
going
I want to
back
hear about this.
going back to business, I picked this up from Annie Duke, who is a championship poker player.
Okay, so just
So
one second because you're making some sports and game references that I have no idea about. So when you're talking about the goal, you're talking about soccer, right? And a
yes.
Duke.
Or hockey for
Okay,
since
sure.
you're
Like
in Boston.
let's get our fists out. And then a Duke. What is? I'm so sorry. What is a Duke?
So Annie Duke is the woman who came up with this concept.
Oh my
And
gosh, Annie
she's the champion.
Duke.
Yep. So she has a few different books. So she's actually one of my heroes. So
Okay.
she wrote book Always Thinking in Bets. And then I got this idea from the book Quit. So it's all about knowing when to quit. So the
Got it.
story she gives in the book is she's working with a group of sales reps and they want to improve their churn rate. So how often a deal is lost and how quickly they're moving deals along. So they started recording everything that was going on in the pipeline of these deals. So once they were able to pinpoint certain things where the deals went awry, they named it kill criteria. So if they saw these common things popping up again over and over, they knew to just cut the deal loose and not interact with this potential client anymore.
Awesome. Because you're not sitting there in a passionate, healthy, curious relationship one day and they're
Hmm.
ghosting you the next. Not typically. You will have felt something. But
And
we got to tune into that. And a lot of people either aren't aware of what healthy relationships or healthy courtship looks like. And also, something that you've touched on is a lot of people aren't in touch with their intuition. And I do think that if you learn about that, you can feel that this is going to happen, which I think is a little bit what you're saying.
so I don't know if this is a hot take or not. Hear me out. I think you can only trust your gut, that intuition, if you've been in that situation before. Otherwise, it's just like your mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah. It's something that I will say I'm very in touch with my intuition. Like it's taken me years, but like very, very, very. And one way that I learned about this when I was in college, and that is once in a while on the first day of class, I would be sitting there and I would have this physical reaction and this second guessing in the back of my head, thinking, this isn't for me. This isn't right. Something about the professor feels really off. Don't do it. And I would go against it. And then total shit show as far as the class goes. My relationship with the professors, especially, um, kind of intense. And it happened over a couple of years. And then when I finally accepted that I knew what it felt like to have an intuitive hit that something's not right, I was able to then recognize it in the future. But it took me a while and some really bad situations as well.
But that happened multiple times, right?
Exactly.
So my
Mhm.
point is that you felt that before. So now you know, like in the future, you know what to go off of because you've experienced this. And that kind of goes back to the kill criteria. Like we are able to pinpoint certain things where like we know we should not do something or get into a relationship with someone or like even entertain them. So I think one of the big ones, this is such a red fucking flag, but I tend to ignore it, love bombing.
Oh yeah. I, having been a survivor of domestic violence, know all about this. Please talk about it. This could be really interesting. I have never really made the correlation between anxious attachment and love bombing. So, because I feel like a lot of anxious people want to get into relationships so badly. So yeah, please, I'm just going to turn it over to you to talk about.
Like bees to honey, I feel like I attract avoidant people. And
I never made
go
the
on.
association between avoidant and love bombing, but it makes so much fucking sense because love bombing is actually an avoidance of intimacy and getting to
Mhm.
know someone. And it's completely false. It's very manipulative because, like I said, avoidant people do want to date, but this is not the way to get to know someone or to establish safety at all. And so, yeah, I guess they would be prone to do that. Thank you.
If you experience love bombing, how would you interact with that? Like coming, like someone who's anxious, what advice would you give me? Because I feel like I have not found like the secret sauce for this and
Well,
like
I mean,
how to
first,
like really be successful in interacting with that.
do you feel like you would be able to walk away? Because I know that someone told me they loved me like within a week a few years ago, and I kind of pursued it. But by the end of like the first month, I was really ready to cut ties. So I guess that's one question is how easy it would be to say this is wrong and to let them know that you're not going to pursue it.
I think my system of kill criteria only works if you actually stick to the plan.
Yeah.
So if like you see the love bombing, like you gotta like you need to pull back, not choose to interact with that like full scale.
Yeah, and that's important as well because I think sometimes I'm susceptible to it as well. I love present, love
I
attention.
think we all are.
Yeah, you know what? We are for sure. And I think sometimes when I would be like over the top with, well, very appreciative of it, that fuels the fire for sure. I mean, it's not really appropriate to buy certain things for people you've only been dating a couple of weeks. And then something also that I did in this particular situation with this man, and this is hard, maybe a bit more advanced, but continuing to date other people and to maybe making that known that just because you've done this for me doesn't mean we're exclusive type of thing. And along those lines, I am not exclusive with someone or in a relationship. I guess being poly, I should um, be clear with that, until there is a conversation about it. I think a lot of people feel like everything feels so good. So now we're together. And I think making a promise to yourself, and this could be a boundary, which we're going to talk about next, that you don't just give that to someone. Not only do they have to quote unquote maybe earn it, but if it means so much to either of you, can you use your words and talk about where this relationship is going?
That verbal contract is so important. Also, I think it's like really chivalrous. Like
Yeah.
you want a man to like ask you like, "Will you be my girlfriend?" That's something that needs to happen like before you're officially dating. Like we're 100% on the same page with that.
It's harder for women, I think, to initiate that. And I will say, yeah, a lot harder because you probably want if you're in a heterosexual relationship, you probably would want the man to initiate that. But you could learn to do it maybe in subtle or ways that still feel feminine to you.
Dating as a man and now dating as a woman, like I think that's the man's job in like a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah, I'm actually like smiling because I actually completely agree. So, yeah, I guess as a woman, I have actually about half and half listeners. Um, I still think filling into it to see what you might do to maybe initiate the conversation or to not give up too much too soon.
When we rush into things, we give too much and ask for too much. So that's like something to be very mindful of like that pace of where you guys are going.
Yep. Thank you so much for that. And then before we move to boundaries, what did you learn from your recent ghosting experience? And I mean, how did you cope with it? I think that's really,
Um,
really, really valuable to help people or to share with people.
yeah, so I think most importantly, like shots on goal, like if you fall off a horse, you gotta get right back on kind of thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
One of the things that I struggle with that you just mentioned is I'm not able to date multiple people. Like
Okay.
talking to all these different people is like it's a lot for me. And like I have so much going on in my life and like in business that I don't want to juggle like five men.
Okay. That
Also,
still doesn't mean that you are telling a man that you're exclusive with him, or maybe.
no, I would not tell anyone exclusive. Like that only happens when they ask you to be their girlfriend.
Love it,
That's
love it,
it.
love it. I will say that you deserve that. I'll just leave it at that.
I don't know if this works against me, but one of the things I like to do to avoid getting too attached, I will never put someone's name with their phone number in my phone. So if we're texting,
Yeah.
it's just a 617 number. You are literally just a number to me.
I am loving this. That is an outlook. But I also think that this is a practical tip that anybody can apply.
If you have high anxiety, I think this is a very good play for you.
I say when it comes to ghosting, also just come up with some sort of like funny story about it or something that you can talk lightheartedly with your friends about rather than saying, why did this happen? Going on and on about how much it sucks. And maybe talk a little bit of shit rather than internalizing it.
Like another thing, just delete them off everything. Just like unfollow them. It's the best way to do it.
I'm a breakup coach, as you know, and I just did an episode, which I haven't dropped yet, called Clean Your Phone. And I just talked about all the ways that people we date and our exes take up space on just our phone, which we're using constantly, whether it's the text, the photos, their phone number. And when you go and intentionally just clear them,
Oh my
block
God,
and
out of
delete.
sight, out of mind is so real.
Can we talk about boundaries for a couple of minutes? Because my experience having at one point been anxious and jealous and having now been a coach for a few years, I feel like a lot of anxious people have few boundaries because they want so badly to be in relationships that sometimes they don't even think about this, or they might, but they let people violate them and their boundaries and they put up with a lot. Uh, so, yeah, I'd really appreciate thinking of, if you could talk about that. When I have clients who want to start dating again after a breakup, first I ask why. A lot of people just stare at me like, like, if you don't even know why you want to date, let's, you know, maybe hold off. And then obviously, like, what are you looking for? But then what are your boundaries? This is not just a word that we use. And you need to actually know what they are. But that's another time that people just stare at me. No idea.
Just to backtrack real quick, like when you ask people why they want to date again, is there a wrong answer to that?
I will say I like where you're going with this, but a lot of people will simply say because they're lonely. And I don't think that a person is a band-aid. I think unless you're really comfortable on your own and don't feel like it's scary to spend time on your own, you become way more confident. And I think you make better choices. And so as far as a wrong answer, when people say that they're just lonely, I would caution maybe moving forward with your next.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
That is a very good one. I was gonna say because like I wanna I own my home. Like I wanna have like a family. Like I want a husband and a dog, and I don't know if like in this economy, kids. I don't know, but like maybe. And to bring it back to the current topic, like you can only achieve that if you do have those boundaries, and you need to have that, I guess, roadmap, and you need to know the price, and you can't sacrifice on the details. So,
The price
what
being
your ultimate goal, whatever that
okay,
may
cool, cool,
be,
cool. Yeah, yeah.
and I think your dignity and self-respect. So I think for for me, like before I started transitioning, I had little self-respect, and that takes a lot of work to build. And you can't let people walk all over you. And I know it's difficult, but like you need to work on like sticking up for yourself and gaining that confidence. And, you don't have to take the biggest swing right away. Like, I think there's some people out there who are so anxious that like they can't even go order a coffee with a barista or something. So like take little steps like that if you are that anxious, and that will help you like on the road to actually sticking up for yourself
Mhm.
and setting boundaries and clearly communicating your expectations and what you deserve.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as expectations go, I mean, I mean, the perfect example of someone who has that. And in fact, my partner pointed that out to me in the beginning that he, as someone who has other partners, felt like that was very different about me. And something that, I mean, I don't go into a relationship saying I've got expectations, but it's the way that you go about establishing the relationship, and you can tell someone. And I think expectations goes into confidence, and lack and overcoming anxiety also will help you be confident. And
What's your opinion on how to establish healthy boundaries at the beginning of a relationship?
I think going slow so that you can think about things in between. I know a lot of people when they connect with someone, it feels so good. And you might connect and have amazing chemistry with someone on a first date. Chemistry and compatibility are very different.
Hmm.
But then when you are feeling that, some people start hanging out every night. And how can you possibly think about was the last date acceptable if you're already preparing to see them again? And so I think that that's one really big thing is just considering, the likelihood that this is going to go in the long run. And then I also think having five boundaries, it leads to you being more aware. I mean, for instance, this hasn't happened to me in a long time, but I must have just been choosing so poorly because I actually had to set a boundary with myself that, oh, this is kind of embarrassing, but that's what we're here for. Nobody was allowed to tell me to shut up. These are the type of men I was dating. And I actually made that one quite known in the beginning. And I would completely bail if that happened. And also, like for instance, I have boundaries around text messaging. If I go on a first date with someone, I make sure that I'm not texting all of the time. You don't want to be too available. I mean, this is basic dating advice, but it's true. And if that starts to be either violated, or if I see that a guy is just going just, I don't want someone to text me after a first date, good morning. Okay. I think that is on its way to love bombing. Why is this person becoming so attached to me? This is just me. So one, knowing a few of them. You don't have to have 10 boundaries necessarily. You can also go with what your red flags are and what your intuition is saying. But I think having an idea of some of them is some self-reflection that needs to happen. And then, yeah, maybe you were only hanging out once a week or on the weekends in the initial days. And maybe you don't need to necessarily tell them, but just, yeah, make it known.
So, good morning text, smiley face, not appropriate next day. What about funny meme in the afternoon?
That's cute. I mean, it shows that you're thinking about the person, but it's not pushing the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I agree with that boundary. I think that's pretty good.
I mean, it's just such a bad sign, I feel, when someone's waking up first thing after a first date and sending you. We're going to get to some of the meatiness, not neediness. And we're going to talk about overcoming some of these tendencies, because as we will talk about, these things might be ingrained in us, but they're not our identity. They might be personality traits, but these are not things that define us. And so I want to talk, especially with you, because I know that you've made a lot of effort. See, I'm on my phone right now. I don't even know why. You've made a lot of efforts to focus on personal development and navigating some of these things more recently than I have. And so when we come back, we're going to get into some of the nitty gritty and the practical tips that you can apply before you start swiping again. Before we do that, we did mention your socials earlier, but let's reiterate. We want everyone to go over and say hi to Dani. So can you say again where we can hang out with you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Dani Furmenek. And then I just got a new URL for my website, so please go visit that and help me with the traffic. It's Nova, Nova, brandworks.com. And then I write all things business, social media, paid advertising, organic social media, and then like fun stories like marketing psychology. So you can find all of that on my website too.
Thank you so much. I will push these as much as I can. Go to the show notes where I'm going to link to everything. And I'll also put it like on my Facebook and stuff. So just give us a moment. We'll be back to talk about making goals and commitments to overcome some of these things. Because also, I mean, we didn't really touch on this, but anxiety is bad for your health. So if you relate to any of what Dani's saying about being anxious, I love that. And then I think the next thing would be how to prevent this from destroying all your relationships and taking your happiness away.
Nothing shatters your life like a breakup, and the feeling of a broken heart is real. I know that it seems impossible right now, but there is hope and there are ways to heal. I would love to work with you one-on-one to heal your broken heart and put your breakup behind you. My personalized coaching programs are designed to pinpoint what will be most effective in helping you to move forward and make this breakup a part of your past. I believe in you. Message me at breakupspodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Instagram at breakupspodcast. And let's connect about creating a magical plan of action to get this breakup in your rear view mirror.
Wow, I am just on cloud nine, I guess. It's not all that often that I have someone new on the shows, Dani, because um it's a casual podcast, or at least Sex and the Solo Girl. And I like have my friends on all the time for us to just kind of dish. And so I really appreciate this. Let's talk about overcoming some of these things, or if that sounds too much, maybe navigating them in different ways. Because some of these things do kind of stick with us, but maybe not. Like I said, I used to be jealous and I'm not no more. So there is another type of attachment. And as you all know, it's secure, which you are all capable of. I have two resources that I want to share. And one is the book Securely Attached by Eli Hartwood. And this is really great. This is actually where I learned more about the term secure attached. And then probably the book I've mentioned the most on the show is Polysecure by Jessica Fern. And I want to assure everyone that, she comes from a non-monogamous background, but there is a small portion about attachment and non-monogamy. It's the majority of it is working through these things. So even if you're not non-monogamous, it's much better than some of the other books on the topic. So earned attached or earned secure. And Eli Hartwood says, though an insecure attachment experience does mean a harder path to finding secure love, okay, it is not a lifelong suffering sentence. In fact, there is another category in the research termed an earned secure attachment. For those of us who have had to put in our own work to learn secure relating skills. Let us dive into it. I think that this is especially important for people who experience relationship anxiety, because a lot of what people will say is that they feel like they can't control it. And which I understand. I mean, stress and anxiety can take over your entire body. And you can feel, especially that your racing thoughts are out of control. So I would love to give people some practical tips.
I think one of the most important things when it comes to addressing this is finding the root cause. So one of my favorite books for this and like doing self-work is, I hope I don't butcher the name of this book, Adult Children of Emotionally Insecure Parents.
Oh my God. I am looking at it right now. I have read it twice, and that is the title. This book validated my life experience. It gave me so many tools for trying to make things work with my family. And as some people know, I'm now estranged. But I got to the point when I decided on the estrangement that because I had used this book, I had complete closure around my experience. And both of my parents are just classic immature. It's actually kind of sad, but an amazing resource. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Yeah. I have every page has a highlight mark on it
Same.
or like corner turned over or like there's a sticky tab in it. Oh my God. Like,
and there's a workbook. Man. I'm not sure if you know, but
okay.
There is an accompanying, well, you buy it separately, but that was also comforting to me.
So I think like that any type of shadow journal that works on your subconscious. And then one of my favorite books, I got the cover tattooed on me, The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weist. Those three things, like if you need to do self-work, like forewarned, like you're gonna be sobbing. Like, and that's why it's so difficult to do and like get through. Like it's work. Like you need to put in work. And like the amount of times like I've read those books or like did those journal entries and just like releasing like all that energy and angst. Like it's like it can be stressful, but it's like something that you need to do.
It's confronting as well. I mean, even though I already knew my parents were a mess, it it hurt me. It hurt my heart to come to accept some of these things, but also, oh, and I actually feel emotional now, but just to think back on my life and, experiences in high school and things that they had done to me as an adult, I felt so much sympathy for myself and what it was like to be treated this way by people who are supposed to love you. So, but it was I had to. It changed my life reading that book.
Yeah, you know, reading those books in particular I do have a lot more empathy for people, I think. And like just going through my transition, I have a lot more empathy for people. And I think this also may be a hot take, but I genuinely think that people are doing the best that they can. Or like you didn't create the culture, like you're born into it. So it's like, I think we do have to give some people grace. That doesn't mean that you have to tolerate it. Like if you're in one of those situations, you should get the fuck out. But, and that's going back to like establishing those boundaries. But like people don't have control over certain things. It's ingrained in them. And that's one of the things that or one of the messages that I took from those books. But man, if you want some fucking clarity, those books
Thank
are
you.
it.
If you are ready to go on this journey, get a book. Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to mention is all of this takes commitment. And I have to say, once you buy a book and read it, you're on your way. I mean, you've already taken a number of intentional actions. So, yeah, start with some resources. Again, these are steps, intentional steps. It's not going to happen overnight. But yeah, get a book.
You can't fall in love with the destination. You need to fall in love with the journey and everything that comes with it.
So that also you won't get down on yourself when you stumble or
part of the process. You need to be comfortable with looking stupid.
Okay. I like it. Either to yourself or maybe even other people.
Yep.
I mean, relationships are a mirror and sometimes they bring up all sorts of things for us, including our shadow side in many cases. Dani and I both took hiatuses from dating. It was one of the top 3 most important things that I've done in my life. And I cannot stress enough. I know it's hard for people if you want sex and companionship and really want to, get married and have the dog. But even taking a short break with intention might change your relationships forever.
Yeah, so second half of last year, I feel like in 2023 and then like in particular 2024, I was so focused on dating and I went on so many first dates and like nothing came to fruition. And I think I was just more like focused on like getting out there and meeting people, which is not necessarily a bad goal, but I needed a little break from that. So like I intentionally deleted all the apps and like did not entertain any of that. And like during the holidays, I don't think you're really gonna find a quality partner like on any of those apps. Like at least the type of guy that I want is going to be with his family during then, right? Like I love hosting my immediate family, my friends and like extended family. I don't have time to like be going out on multiple dates a week when that's happening during the holidays.
I want to really quickly mention the ability to self-soothe. I'm actually not going to go into all of this. I will because I want you to talk about all these lovely tips that you wrote down. But I have a little bonus for everyone. I did an episode called The Importance of Self-Soothing, and I'm going to drop that as a bonus this week. This is one of the more important abilities that you can have when you start dating and get into relationships. So go over there, learn all about self-soothing. But for now, we're going to talk about more mindset related things when it comes to overcoming anxiety.
I think it's going to be different for everyone just because like everyone has different chemistry. But literally just going to touch some fucking grass. And I know that's like a meme now and it's like kind of crass, but like getting outside, going for a walk and like getting fresh air, or like if it's summer, I'll just roast in the sun by myself and like no technology with an iced coffee. That for me works very, very well. Recently, bilateral stimulation, so like the butterfly hug. Since we don't have video, I'm not going to be able to show it, but it's like basically just like tapping your chest, like with your arms crisscross kind of thing.
Okay, so I have my hands crossed, or my hands crossed across my chest, and yeah, I'm tapping the opposite shoulders. All right, I can see this working.
And it's like, I think that's like a quick way to calm down. I don't know if there's like any rhyme or reason to like optimize this, but I think just being like having gratitude for things. Like I try and like really think of how good I have it. There's this one saying that I've heard in the past. I was upset that I had no shoes, but then I walked and saw a man with no feet. It could be a lot worse. I have so many good things going for me. That reframe is very powerful for me.
I don't know where I learned this at all, but one of the tips I give, especially to my breakup clients who are so devastated, is stop when you're feeling the racing thoughts or just feeling down in the dumps and just list 3 things that are working in your life. And it might seem like, oh, nothing is, I'm miserable. But it could be, well, I have my own apartment, or I have a friend. My morning routine is working. I got up on time today and that felt great. Maybe something about my job, or, like I have some money, or there was one thing that made me feel 1% better yesterday. So it's kind of gratitude, but it's also kind of reminding yourself that there are some things to feel positive about. And the more you notice it, the more you'll notice it.
One of the things that like I always try to remember, this is my favorite saying like of all time. Can't stop the waves, but you can always learn to surf.
Something that really stuck out to me in the notes that you provided is, how would you show up every day if you knew that, quote, your person was out there? I thought this was really powerful, and I've been looking forward to hearing from you about it.
I've gained a lot more appreciation for the things around me. So just simple as waking up, like I will make iced coffee. I have turned things into a ritual. So I will make my iced coffee, then I will go back upstairs. I'll brush my teeth, do my skincare routine, make my bed, and then like get into my office. And like that is my ritual. Just having that appreciation for like those things. And because like it's a steady part of your life. Just trying to interact with anyone. And like this is really good if like you're anxious. So like I said, just like take little steps at it. It's okay to like go to a bar and get lunch by yourself. Go to like a bookstore and just like sit down and read. Those are great opportunities to like even strike up a conversation with the cashier or anyone. What do you personally like doing?
Definitely getting out of the house. If either I am feeling down in the dumps or I'm having some sort of racing thoughts, I will sometimes go to the park. That also sounds cliched, but I will very often take my laptop down to the pub that I found works for me. And again, lots of people are also on their laptops. And so there's something about the change of environment that can be really good for anxiety. I mean, you're going to distract yourself. If you're having racing thoughts, you'll at least stop for a couple minutes while you go to the place. And that might be a really, really good reset. That is definitely one of my go-tos. And it's very similarly to what you were saying about imagining, or how would you show up if you knew that your person was still out there. I really often like to think of the end goal and perhaps how I am going to be looking back on my behavior or a week or a month or a year from now. Something that I say about breakups is consider your future self and how you want to show up for that person and how you want that person to look back. And we all go through hard times and become devastated and do things that we regret. But if we can find ourselves doing this and then make commitments to ourselves that we're going to try to take matters into our own hands and think of the future, think of that person, what do you want to do for them? That can often prevent us from doing things that we regret.
Yeah, do things that your future self would appreciate. I think that's a great way to think about it. And like for this is very subjective, but for me, the meaning of life is to achieve things we once didn't think were possible. And like this just goes back to my transition and a lot of things associated with that. But I think life is just way too cool and neat, like not to try.
Yeah.
So like you owe it to yourself to do that and like really show up as your best self moving forward.
And anxiety can ruin, I mean, you're not in the moment when you are feeling anxious. And so it can really deprive us from seeing the beauty in the moment or being productive.
If you're always living in the past or in the future, how can you live in the present?
And it takes some practice. I mean, I've read books, I've been doing this for ages, but like I keep on saying to be intentional. And so some other very intentional things to do. I mean, we already talked a little bit about what we're exposing ourselves to. There's really cool podcasts out there. Go and find a host that you really resonate with and expose yourself to, positive people who are doing content to help others like I am. Keep on listening here. And then I can't do an episode without encouraging people, hire a therapist, hire a coach. I love working with this. I love working with people on this. I am sometimes so touched to see the changes that I see in people once they realize that they can do it, and then they get kind of like on a roll and then just kind of keep going. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are invested in helping people to have better lives. So that's one other tip that I'll give.
Yeah, therapy is definitely the best hour of my week by far.
If you've got emotionally immature parents, it would behoove you to find a professional to.
I started going when I started transitioning. If you're trans and listening to this, that's like the first step you need to take. Like you need to go to therapy. Like, cause for me, it's been one of the most difficult things that I've ever done in my entire life. That's something that you need to talk through. But just like in general, like it's such a great resource. Everyone should be going to therapy.
If you have a therapist or counselor or coach, and you know that the session is coming up, you can regulate in the moment and then tell yourself, you can tell these people anything about what you were feeling in the moment, any anxiety. So sometimes it will help you to maybe not put the burden on your relationships or not continue to spiral, because you're going to have the chance to do that soon.
Very wise advice.
This has been great. Maybe one of my more favorite episodes I've done recently. So valuable. Dani, I can't wait to have you back on the show. Thank you to everyone who listened on both platforms. I'm so thankful for everyone who pushes play. And with that, I am sending you so much strength for the week ahead. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On with Dani Furmenek. I sincerely hope that you found today's episode inspirational or useful. I would love to support you on your healing journey. All you have to do is send me a message on Instagram at Breakups Podcast or email me at breakupspodcast@gmail.com, and I will be in touch to get you started. Remember, if you are struggling with a broken heart, your feelings are temporary. I am sending you so much love and luck for the week ahead. You've got this.